Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, this is a bit rare. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Yes, to the Eager Beaver Nights.
Eager Beaver late night after dark.
Yeah,
Eager Beaver after dark.
Eager Beaver after dark. Hold on, this thing is in the wrong spot. Let's see if I can
I'll have to create a whole new.
help myself.
I'll have to create a whole new, because this was very last minute, very sudden,
Yes.
very unexpected. So I'll have to create a whole new bumper for these Eager Beaver after dark.
Yes.
EBAD.
After bark.
After bark. Okay, sure. Wood. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I'll definitely work on. Yeah, I'll work on something for that. That could be cool.
After bark, nothing but log. Okay.
Let's just get rolling, man.
Okay.
We got this.
Okay.
This is a barn burner of an episode. We got to get right into it. Let's go.
But let me do the intro. Today.
No, go ahead. Go.
Yes, welcome to the Eager Beaver evening show, a special after school special. There you go.
I'm having a pint.
Today, recording day is Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. I am fresh from choir practice, so feeling very angelic. And I've had a good day. Best tennis match of my life. And not only best tennis match of my life, but best match of my life. And I won.
Nice.
Yes. Tonight, okay, I came back from the tennis match, just chilling for about an hour before going to choir. And I get this message from our guest who says, like, we need to do something. We need to do something. And our guest, I have to say, because in our show, I say democracy is something that we do. And lately, if you've been hearing him on other shows, he's been really pushing the get involved. Like, just roll your sleeves up, put your hands in. It's all hands on deck time. So he's here and he's got a message for us. So we're going to have a discussion about that. Now, we have never had this person on the show. We've had this person on other shows. He's come to a podcast and he's come on an election special, but never actually on the show. So new to the actual Beaver Lodge is this person. You know him. Second best hair in podcasting.
Sorry, sorry. I think he's got you beat. This is coming from a bald man, okay? Willful bald man. I shave my head.
Podcasting.
Mine?
Yes.
No, I don't. I don't have. If I regrow my beard, maybe.
Okay, let's bring him on. You probably know him as the X Fixer. Now,
yes.
Who actually?
Well,
actually, but you know,
legendary author of the Klondike Papers.
Yes, and you might want to actually say maybe now, actual fixer, given what he's got in mind. Let's invite him to the Beaver Lodge, Mr. David Wallace. Welcome, sir. It's so nice to see you. Do we have you
Cheers, how
with
are
any
you guys?
sound? There you go. All
Can
right,
you hear me?
all right. So, yes, we can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Okay. I'm going to let I'm surprised the place did not burn down. It was just like lightning. I'm just surprised it doesn't hit. Okay. Welcome to the Beaver Lodge. I am going to let you take the lead first because you asked for this. So rather than asking you a question, just tell us why it is you asked for this. What do you have on your mind? And let's go from there.
Absolutely.
Slight delay.
Slight delay? Is it okay? Or am I
That's
slightly
okay.
delayed?
Yeah. We'll work around
Right.
it.
Well, slightly delayed. Some of our conservative friends can sympathize, I'm sure. Just joking. What I'm here for is because the last few days, I've been reading some very defeatist comments of our government and our prospects for the next election cycle. We've been waiting for somebody to come and say, for somebody to stand up and fight for our government to somehow stamp out, which are being financed by the very people, the money men behind the Conservative Party of Canada. And I'm talking about you, Steve, and the IDU, the International Democratic Union, and your oligarch partners such as Weston, the like, people whom Jordan Roberts and myself and Theobis have been joyfully pointing out, not through rumor, through documentation and profit and loss statements. You, Mr. Harper, what we need to do is employ the same tactics, the very tactics that my served by these people for decades. Our third-party Save Canada organizations. Our idea is saving Canada. I don't think it involves truckers and terrorists and death threats or threats of painting any politicians in the town square. What I mean is drawing on the best that this has to offer, whether you're a liberal or conservative or in the middle. Because you can be a conservative and still, we all know that. And what's driving the bus at the Conservative Party of Canada certainly are conservatives. We need to have third parties which point out the inconsistencies, the lies, the interest which are backing these third parties. We need to buy ad space. If the mainstream media, what we have, then we need to find another way. Independent media, going where the people online, take the best and brightest in this society, our doctors, our educators, our police officers, who still stand their vow that they took to protect and serve the people and the democracy of which they're serving, which has rule of law, election manipulation. But if that's the thing they're going to play, the people such as myself, who've been here for decades, are more than willing to step forward to offer our strategic and personal time to get this thing done. Time to tear up their garden. Let's see how they like it. I got a feeling
I am glad you said that, because something I've been saying for a while is, ever since the era of Harper, the conservatives have been gleefully making us dance to the thousands of little brush fires that they keep lighting. Little scandal here, little scandal there, little scandal there, little thing there, little thing there, accuse someone of there like this. And while we're trying to put all those things out, nobody is lighting fires. In the United States, you know how the conservatives did part of their Jedi mind trick? While all the Democrats were trying to buy ad space on TV, conservatives just went out and bought old radio stations. Less expensive than a 2-week buy in New York City or in a major market, and you get 24/7 access to the people who are listening.
The Sinclair Media, I think, is one of the big ones.
Right? So there are methods, there are strategies.
And
That's
also
huge.
huge backers of several organizations.
Right. So
absolutely,
there is infrastructure in place. We do have organizations, like, for example, we have EGAL, right, that are taking the Saskatchewan government to court because of its plan to use the notwithstanding clause to basically trample all over the rights of the most vulnerable children that there probably are in society at the moment, because they believe that nobody's going to stand up for them. And they can. And they think that their path to the ballot box goes literally through these kids, bulldozing through these kids. So a taste of their own medicine, or how do you like these brush fires? Maybe it's your time to dance, puppets, would certainly not be a bad idea. And the thing is, like you said, but they have an infrastructure that they have built a long time ago. And we are almost like have to scramble because we are like 15, 20 years behind.
And it's because I would think, and please, gentlemen, please correct me if I'm wrong here. I would think that centrists on either side of that line, right or left, centrists have thought, well, the business of government will just go ahead, and there was not the insidious, evil need to manipulate the public and the public purse and create this network of pure evil, because it is what it is, to manipulate the public. Those of us who are in center left or center right just thought, well, the business of government is the business of government and things will go on. We didn't know. Maybe we were somewhat naive to think that there would be such an evil group of people who would manipulate us in such a manner. Maybe because we believed in democracy and the systems, and we believed that things could work the way they're supposed to work, and we believed that each vote counted. Do you know where I'm going with this? It's like, were we naive, or did we just believe in the system that we built, and then the system was broken down and destroyed in front of us, and we didn't notice it?
Well, I think David pointed it out when he was talking earlier. When he was talking about these third-party organizations, right? Everything's a business, right?
Yes.
They keep on saying, right, run the government like a business. This is a hostile corporate takeover. If you're speaking the business,
I'm just going to jump in and out
business and applying it to politics.
Try to include the
okay.
Yeah, no problem.
The Conservative Party of Canada is currently, like the Republican Party in the United States, the subject of a hostile corporate takeover. That's what's going on. Actual conservatives don't have a home.
No, they don't. Progressives do not have a home, and they haven't.
And actual conservatives, even if they're not progressive, actual conservatives, even if they're progressive, don't have a home. They don't have a home in either the PPC or the CPC. Looked like the centralized Canadians or Canada Future or whatever they're going to call themselves was originally at its intent planning to be that. But with the articles, like we mentioned on the show, that we've seen Tasha Keridan writing lately, looks like they've abandoned that. I don't know. It just sounds like somebody took a calculator and said, well, listen, yes, we're going to be more moderate than the actual Conservative Party with Pierre Poilievre. We're going to try to get some blue liberals or red Tories in the mix too. But the money is on the PPC wing. So we're still going to play footsie with that. Right?
I'm just so troubled by all of it. So Wednesday nights is my Scotch and Cigar Club. And I actually had a Scotch tonight. Well, actually, it was an Irish whiskey. Scotch is Scotch cigar, name only. Anyway, I had a glass of Irish whiskey with the lads. I didn't have a cigar, and I sat and I talked, and we all came to the same conclusion of we would really like to see. And this is complicated when I say what I'm about to say, but we would really like to see a return to the 1960s in the sense of politicians who did the business of politics for the sake of the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's David, but we have no camera there, sir. Politics who did the business, they got into politics to do better for the country, for the citizens of the country. I know the 60s were complicated. There was a lot of things that took place, blah, 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 and we're much better today when it comes to equality. There we are, sir. But there were, at that time, and even throughout the 70s, there were folks in politics at that time who were uncorruptible. They got into it because they wanted to make a difference in their community. They wanted to do good for the country. My mother, who was a lifelong liberal, loved Joe Clark. Loved Joe Clark because Joe Clark was a good man, could not be bought off, and an actual progressive. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to, I might belong to this party, but I can vote for that fella because that fella is going to do good by the country, good by the citizens of this country. And that's the 60s that we need to see again. Mm-hmm. That's the part of the 60s we need to see again. The 70s too, but you know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are elements from a decades past we can pull in and bring into today because the current crop of politicians and the current crop of journalists letting politicians get away with lie after lie after lie after day after lie after day after.
Yes.
I'm exasperated all the goddamn time, and this is not right. I'm 55 years old. I'm supposed to be in my wind down period of my life, and I'm not. I'm angry, and I shouldn't be. I should be sitting back and go, hey, 10 years, I can put my feet up, and no, I can't. I can't afford to, number one, and number two, I can't walk away from the situation that we're faced with because I have nieces and nephews, and I want them to live in a world that's not like this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Dave, I know that you've been talking a lot about this for the last while, but clearly there is something that went click over the past few days because this was like, we need to do this now.
We're losing. It's not just that we're losing, we're going into a tailspin. I've seen this all over the world. I mean, people like Nathan Jacobson, other friends who do this sort of thing. I mean, we've been all over the world and we've seen how this is done to countries.
Mm-hmm.
You think about Bosnia, you think about other places. Do you think that was manipulation free? Do you think Haiti just happened? No.
No, of course not.
There are people who go there, not for ideological reasons, but for money. And they go and they subvert the political system against the will of the people to achieve a goal, usually redistribution of wealth to foreign corporate assets, where assets such as myself are paid a fee to act as agents of change on the ground. This is a very, very evil world where people are losing their homes, their freedoms, their ways of life, and their countries. We are having this country, in fact, all of North America, is being stolen under your very noses. And it's being done under the front of populism and religion, two very useful tools against democracy. Think about it. Religion is a theocracy. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Business is an absolute dictatorship. Democracy is the natural enemy of religion and corporations. That's it.
There's no lies told. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And it's disturbing. It's disturbing because, we're in the great age of information, right? Marshall McLuhan, if he were alive today, he'd be like, holy crap, look at all this. We have access to all of human knowledge right here on this little thing.
Yep.
And yet we get suckered into believing bullshit by politicians who lie every single day and never get held to task.
But it's not just any bullshit. You got to remember, this is carefully crafted bullshit after psychological analysis and analysis of, everything that you do online, and then tested with focus group, and then vice versa. And
they're using the data they gleaned from this to manipulate you.
Yeah,
this is what they do, and they're aided and abetted, unfortunately, by the sitting progressive government who continuously drops the ball. Your intentions may be good. However, if you're filled with a room full of dreamers and idealists, what you fail to grasp is the practicalities of day-to-day cutthroat political theater.
Yep.
And what you're seeing right now is political theater on a grand scale, and really the liberals are getting their lunch fed to them because they went to a gunfight with a knife. Let's put it that way. And it's not going to get any better.
They're not going for the jugular.
They don't know how to go for the jugular. What they think listen, the population is tired. People are tired of being told things are going to get better and that they are great. People are losing their jobs, their homes, their money. Something is clearly not working. What we need in our government is stability, reason, and the ability to compromise on issues economically. We may all want to do certain things today, but unfortunately, those things that we need to be funding right now are reinvestments in Canada and its citizens of all stripes, colors, and walks of life. So let's be straight about that. This government needs to get back on track and needs to get its priorities straight. Nobody is without blame here. However, I certainly doubt that the sitting prime minister organized a shutdown of the entire country by marching lunatics into Ottawa and basically ushering in a new level, a new low of tyranny into this country. We've got problems with a CPC government. What we have is a dictatorship. There's a big difference there.
Yeah.
I'm not an over-enthusiastic fan of the regime in charge right now, but I'll tell you one thing. It's a damn sight better than getting on my knees and praying to Sky Daddy and my wife not having the right to medical care, which she chooses because it is her body, and that's something that we come to an agreement with as a couple, then that would be something that my wife would choose, and she should have the freedom to do such, seeing as how it's her body and she was born with it. But this is the type of world that we're looking at. Everybody who thinks that let's get a few dollars off at the grocery store and let's, we got to do this and we got to do that. I don't care if we have to give up basic rights and freedoms for half the population in this country. I mean, screw you, screw the kids, screw it all. As long as we can say we want. Look at the Kentucky coal miners. Okay, you got staunch Republicans, for Christ's sakes, voting. The very people who are fighting for their right to continue to mine coal and die of leukemia and obstructed. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to support your people, why don't you educate them? Why don't you give them breaks so they can better educate themselves, so they can drag themselves out of the coal mines, so they can integrate into society at a level that they all should be, so their children have the best possible futures? I don't know. Crazy times.
So,
you say, sorry, just give me a sec there, sir. You say so many things, and I'm like, Wow.
Sorry, they've been bottled up for 30 years.
No.
No
I'm
rush.
glad you're letting it all out, because I'm happy that you're letting it all out. And here's the thing. It's like, again, you and I are like that far apart on about 99.9% of things. And I think we are in lockstep with about damn near everything. I mean, some of the things you just said, it's like you are afraid, as I am, afraid, I don't know if that's the right term, but cautious of conservative government, because they would deny your wife a choice over what she does with her body.
It's taking away a basic fundamental freedom.
It is. It's a medical. And here's the thing. In Canada, there's no law around it. You know why? Because it's a medical procedure. That's it. It's
Absolutely.
like if I broke my leg, or I needed to get a limb amputated or a limb sewn back on, or it's a medical procedure. That's why there's no laws around it. The second they form a law around it is when they can start changing how that procedure is done.
Absolutely.
Which is why when they came out with that bill a few months back, what was it? The bill to protect pregnant women
from violence.
We already fucking have that. We already have that. It's a chart. Like, come on, really? They're just trying to create coded language that people will go, well, of course we should protect
weasel
women.
language.
We already do.
Weasel language. That's what it is. It's
so that eventually they can form a law so that they say, well, no, we have the heartbeat bill, or we have the this, or we have the that, or until they can make it illegal.
That's right.
And then we have Gilead and The Handmaid's Tale.
Yep.
And if you think that shit can't happen, if you think it can't happen, that book was written based on actual events that were happening in different places around the world. And that was written in 1985, if memory serves. The Handmaid's Tale was a fictional tale about true events that were happening in the world in 1985.
Yep.
We now have people in positions of power in this country who want to make that a thing in this country.
And they're almost there. They've laid the groundwork. They have worked tirelessly in the dark alleys in the dead of night by passing legislation that nobody hears about, laying the groundwork, and now they are ready. They are ready under the guise of whatever they can muster. We have so many problems in this world right now, and people say it's because of progressive governments acting insane and being in league with the enemy. But if you really take a look under the surface and look at who's voting for what inside their houses, in the Senates, in our parliaments, if you look at what legislation, fence, I should say, that's been built around us, you might begin to see the sleight of hand that has taken place. Mr. Stephen Harper and the IDU have been working tirelessly for decades. Take a look at a map. Look how many IDU-connected governments there are. They rail against the World Economic Forum. People, what do you think the IDU is? Really, what do you think the International Democratic Union is, and the sort of people that they associate with, Mr. Orban, and people of that nature? Butchers. These are the same people who were behind companies, mining companies and Canadian banks going into countries like Colombia and acting as strike breakers and paying out of bank coffers through Washington, paying that money to the FARC to murder the indigenous people until the strike was finished. And Canada turned a blind eye under Mr. Harper's rule. And that's an historical fact. Because they were IDU connected. And the IDU is the de facto shadow government of this country. And soon, unless we have a Manhattan level project to put together the infrastructure, to build a third party organization such as Take Back Alberta, like Mr. David Parker, another Harperite, built.
Oh, yeah.
And he is now the de facto premier of Alberta. He is in control.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And that is happening province by province. Yep. Mr. Doug Ford, now that he's fallen spectacularly by design, now has a much tighter leash on him. The Ford Nation brand has taken a hit, and he is back under the umbrella fully of the IDU. He better be, because the mob will kill him otherwise.
Well, and his whole, we're going to give the land back. I'm like, so the company that paid $100 million at 21% interest,
Okay.
How's that going to work
Let's
out?
get into that because I have a feeling that Christian Freeland is no longer going to be his personal psychologist very soon.
Hey, Rob, how you doing,
Yeah,
buddy?
because
My buddy Rob just tuned in. He's out in
there you go.
Victoria, so
because
hey,
I'm
what's up,
guessing he's
brother?
not going to be as conciliatory anymore. Let's go into some specific issues. We're talking about the green belt
Yes.
at the moment. We have a cast of characters. We have a Phoenix Kiss. We have a Mr. X who is getting some type of interesting fees. We have an Anna Kondrick, who appears to be a bodybuilder and the world's foremost specialist on magic mushrooms. We have, we literally have sex, drugs, and people getting rock and rolled.
Yep.
Okay. And now that he's reversed himself, but Calandra, of all people, to bring in. How about let's do this? Calandra, what do we know about him? Why is he the perfect guy to be why is he the perfect guy for Doug Ford to bring in to replace Amato and Clark?
He's not the perfect guy. He's the guy that Doug Ford thinks will act as the best shield. He thinks that this guy is going to have the weight through whatever he might have on certain members of mainstream media and relationships with some of the same corporate oligarchs who own those interests. You see, the heat got turned up slightly on Mr. Ford in the mainstream media, and that was a direct result of the pressure that was put on through social media and independent media.
Yes.
The people were so outraged by the fraud that mainstream media had to act, even if it was, let's just call it light investigative reporting, but they had to act. What I'm suggesting by starting a third party, a strong third party, is that the mainstream media would be compelled to act in the public's best interest because a large third party organization can exact economic repercussions from the very oligarchs' companies, such as Rogers or Bell, that choose to ignore real news and cover up crimes against the public by politicians who are thieves. We need real leverage, and the only way to do that is to have enough clout, enough people behind a third party with their money, with their time, mid-sized businesses, small businesses. Everybody needs to band together, because if they don't, they'll be out of business permanently.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You better have a picture of Galen Weston taped to your wall if you own a small business, because if you don't, if you're not doing everything in your power to ensure that this man fails, then you will surely be out of business by this time next year. And that's just a fact.
Well, I have a minor observational comment when it comes to the power that the Weston family holds over this province.
Yes.
So you're familiar with the Empire Corporation? They own Sobeys and Farm Boy.
Yep, they sure do.
They're from down east, right? They're from the Maritimes. So there's a Farm Boy just down the street from where I live. It was a Sobeys originally, and when it first opened as a Sobeys, they had this excellent beer selection because they were allowed to sell beer and wine in corners in grocery stores. Mr. Beaver he'll be right back. So they used to have this excellent beer selection, and it'd be like Sunday night. I'm meeting some friends for a barbecue. I could stop in, grab a great selection of beer. Then they shut down for about 6 months. Gutted the store, renovated it, reopened as a Farm Boy. Farm Boy had a smaller beer selection, but still a good one. And I would, go in picking up groceries, and it's like, how convenient. I can get some Guinness while I'm getting my, whatever I want to eat while I'm watching a Sunday afternoon football game. So about 6-8 months, I'm not sure the exact timeline, I walked into the store and I'm like, excuse me, what happened to the beer? Oh, yeah, we can't sell it anymore. I'm like, well, why not? Well, because there's a liquor store right over there in the next building, one block away. I go, yeah, but they used to be like 3 blocks away in that building over there, but they just moved to this one. Yeah, and the government said because we're too close, we can't sell it. And I go, whoa, hang on, what? That's peculiar because you sold it before they were in that building, but oh, fine. So I go down the street to a Loblaws at Isabella between Elgin and O'Connor. And it used to be three buildings. There was a liquor store, a beer store, and a Loblaws. Now, the beer store's gone. It's just one giant building, and there's a wall that separates the Loblaws from the liquor store. And what do they have? A big sign outside on the roof, shining for everybody who drives by. Beer and wine sold here at the Loblaws. And I was in there on Sunday picking up some groceries, and I thought I should get some beer. And I went, wait a minute. They share a wall with a liquor store, but they're owned by Galen Weston.
That's right.
The place up the street is owned by a bunch of people from down east. And Doug said, you can't because you're too close to the liquor store. How much fucking closer can you get when you're separated by a wall? And here's the best part. On the other side of that wall, so you've got, like, walk into the store to the left, there's the bread, there's the cheese. On the other side of that wall is the beer fridge in the liquor store. I'm not joking. I know, because I'm there all the time. And I'm like, the level of favoritism, corruption, cronyism, absolute bullshit. I mean, like, you won't let that guy compete. But that's my buddy Galen. He can sell all the beer and wine he wants. It's okay for Galen. He can do that. That's no problem. I'm not saying that's the case, but the evidence is kind of.
It's absolutely the case. We listen. I don't need to see evidence. I mean, Doug Ford has already provided all the evidence necessary to establish that he's a thief. You know, clipping us for close to $9 billion. He's a thieving pig fucker. Pardon my language. But it's
$9 billion in 2016 dollars, yeah. $24 billion by today, right?
At the end of the day, Galen Weston's the 800-pound gorilla on the block. And, you know, funny enough, the political scene in Canada right now most closely resembles my time in Moscow in the early 90s when Boris Yeltsin and his drunken merry men of thieves, the family as they were known, took over the former Soviet Union and merrily raped and robbed and stole the country blind, therefore dooming democracy and paving the way for a homicidal butcher who was more interested in amassing record levels of wealth never before seen on this earth and total iron control, and that's Mr. Putin. This is the system that we have right now.
We're heading not that rich, though.
Pardon me?
On paper, he's not that rich.
No, he's not that rich.
But he's not that rich.
He's
in reality, he's worth trillions.
Trillions.
Literal trillions.
Absolute trillions.
I know this from people I know in the know, and I can't say any more than that, but people I know in the know have said, no, he's worth trillions.
Absolutely.
Literal trillions.
Trillions of dollars.
And he can fund anybody he wants. All these oligarchs that are worth billions, that's Putin's money. He lets them have a little bit.
Think about it. A guy like Ihor Kolomoisky sitting in jail in the Ukraine, a man who financed battalions that were to kill Russian soldiers. He's now sitting for suspicion, of course, of, you name it, corruption. General Grashbag in the Ukraine without bail because he chose not to exercise his bail. Zelensky was, of course, worked for the network that was owned by Kolomoisky, but he's a billionaire and he's supposedly a blood enemy of Putin. If this were so, the man would be dead. Do you think he couldn't reach inside a Ukrainian prison? In an instant, trust me. The fact is, we're being played on many levels. There are people loyal to that regime, and they are deep in our society. The former press secretary of the Russian Federation in Ottawa, who was expelled for suspicion of, well, you name it. I think he claims it was in retaliation for the Skype poisoning case. This is an individual I know very well, as communication in the Klondike Papers will show. And this man was personally responsible as the communication bridge between the official leader of the opposition, Mr. Pierre Poilievre, and himself. Now, can I prove it with any documentation? No, I can't. I can give you my word. But one thing people need to understand is when I came forward on my own. Nobody was charging me with a crime. Nobody made me do a damn thing. When I gave up Richard Marsh, who was being hunted by the PBC, the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, a cult, Mr. Harper's friends, represented by the biggest, baddest boogeyman lawyer in the Conservative Party, Mr. Gerald Chapor. All I had to do was pick up the phone and tell them where he was. And I would have been paid quite well. Quite well.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't do those sort of things. And it has gotten out of control. I came forward, and the same people that turned on me and didn't pay their bills and have tried to have me sued or arrested or driven off in some dark alley and disappeared, I'm still here. You can get to me, but I can get to you. And I'm going to get to you where it hurts the worst. And that's on the national stage. We're going to make sure that your version of the future, one which includes a woman having no control over her own body, theoretically going back to being property, this time not of her husband, which is awful and sexist enough, but property of the state. This is coming. These are actual real policies. If you happen to be gay, bisexual, lesbian, transsexual, trans, if you happen to be any of those things, you are now an enemy of the state. These are real things that people need to understand. Do you think the rhetoric that has been spewed will be backed up after an election victory? No. The constituents will demand that the administration move in and clean up their perceived filth. That's what they think of it as. They've dehumanized people.
Yeah,
completely.
We are looking at a hell on earth that I think people really have not taken the time to step back and let sink in. They're thinking about how awful it will be on the world stage if Pierre Poilievre represents us. What they need to understand is we will close ranks and become a third world dictatorial hellhole. We will be the shame of the G7. We will turn into Nazi Germany literally overnight.
Well, I think Papa Doc in Haiti back in the 60s, right?
It's coming.
If we don't get together and do something. Mr. Beaver, you have some thoughts about this, sir?
We have some questions from the kits and stuff, and what I'd like to do is, if I can, is to bring you down a couple of paths to try to explain to the kits some of the ways that some of these things are happening, and then get to the part as to what you want to do to get us to mobilize, because we have to mobilize, but we have to do it in a quick, short period of time, and we have to be particularly effective, so we don't have time for squabbling and we don't have time for being inefficient. So I want to get into that as well. But there are like some subjects right now. If we're talking about 1,000 brush fires, right? You have the election interference with China thing where we dragged a man's name through the mud. Hang dong.
Yes.
We've got this thing going on through Parliament right now where this person who was a guest of the speaker had some involvement with an SS division back in the day, and in this 24/7 media hot take world, no time for history or nuance or whatnot. He was a Nazi. That's all there is to it. And you did this. Then we have India, where apparently the prime minister couldn't take off because there was tons of cocaine on his plane. Of course, we're listening to our Harper IDU Modi media tell it, and the Toronto Sun over here publishing it, and then the CBC having nobody that wants to come on the show, that the only person that's going to come and they say yes rather than no is Rupa. And then it's exhausting. You're right. It's exhausting.
It is. It's utterly exhausting. The speaker business, that was a planned attack.
All right.
And that's part of the reason I'm angry. I'm also angry at the sitting government, immensely angry, because of the amateur, laissez-faire approach to security and approach to their own optics. They worry about big picture things. If I was in that office, the first thing, anybody who steps in the room with the sitting prime minister, anybody, is vetted right down to knowing exactly where their parents went to school. I
Mhm.
want to know everything about those people. Every single thing. The prime minister, you can't tell me that he is not notified about any special events that will be taking place when he's present.
Mhm.
And if he isn't being notified, somebody's not doing their job.
Now, according to the Prime Minister's office and everyone associated with this, the Prime Minister apparently did not meet uh, with this person. Do you happen to have any details that says that that's not the case?
No, I don't have any details, but what I do know is the fact that this took place is an
Yes.
obvious breach in the security of the prime minister and the prime minister's office. It means somebody didn't do their damn job. And if that took place in another country, that person would be weeded out and they would be thrown out and it would never happen again. We need to be serious here. We're not dealing with a political party. We're not dealing with a conservative party which wishes to win an election. Okay, these aren't conservatives. We're not talking about that. It's insulting to conservatives to call the CPC conservatives.
Mhm.
This is the IDU.
Indeed.
This is the Canadian arm of the IDU. These people are professional political terrorists that will use blackmail, murder. They will use corrupt law enforcement, judiciary. Look at what's going on in Alberta. Look at the last 3 justice ministers. I think they're all under investigation by the Law
Yep.
Society.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is a mafia thug takeover. And if we don't get serious, we will be prisoners of a war that we will have lost, and we will have no recourse. Because once they take power, they will never relinquish it again,
Okay.
ever.
So how was, when you say that this was a setup, what was the play?
Well, it's really simple. I mean, if this man fought for the battalion that he claims he did, they fought with the Nazis. There is no dispute about that.
Right.
I'm not saying the man was ideologically aligned with Nazis or that he wanted to do it or did it gleefully. But the fact is, the battalion that he fought for, the one that was mentioned, did fight against Russian soldiers who, I may add, in that battle were the ally of Great Britain, Canada, and the United States. In World War II, Russians fought valiantly. In fact, freedom against Nazis was paid for in Russian blood by the millions. They held Stalingrad, but that spirit is gone. It was replaced by an oligarch named Vladimir Putin.
Truth be told, if it were not for Russia in World War II, we'd be marching to the beat of a different drummer right now.
Absolutely, but Russia's been stolen too.
Yes, it has. It has. Like I love how, like, Americans, we won World War II. No, you fucking didn't.
No, you didn't.
It was an allied effort, and largely done by Russia, and that's historically accurate. There's no
most of the dying.
That.
Most of the dying took place by Russian men and who were lost as children. And right now, innocent Russians are dying and innocent Ukrainians because of the greed of a cabal of oligarchs who call Moscow and St. Petersburg home. Those aren't Russian patriots. Those are oligarchs and thieves and international criminals who are murdering the citizens of the Ukraine, and they're seeing their own Russian blood be sent into the meat grinder on a daily basis. It's international terrorism.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's sickening.
You got nothing else to say.
Right.
Like, yes.
We live in a world literally where we stand on the shoulders of giants. Think about the World Economic Forum. Maybe everybody in a senior position in it is corrupt or bent. I don't know. But the principles of building a better future for everybody through innovation and by letting go of the past and by moving forward into sustainable ways of living where we don't murder our planet, where we don't discriminate against people, where we move past superstition and bullshit, and that we have a society where everybody matters, because everybody matters or nobody matters. It's not a society then. What it is a free-for-all where pimps and thieves and oligarch murderers kill our elders in long-term care homes and tell us it's for our own good. We got to do something, and we got to do it fast, or we're going to be yesterday's news, guys. We got to do something.
All right. So then let's move to we've got to do something. What is it that we have got to do specifically? What's the plan to do? I've noticed that you've put something on your Twitter feed called Fight for Canada Now at protonmail.com.
I've had thousands of people email, people from all over Canada, and that's what we need. We need good, confident, competent people to step forward. We've already got the blueprint. We can just take what the loonies did out and take back Alberta. We can take their infrastructure and just build the same mousetrap a little bit better and use the same damn tools that they use, that they wield against democracy. We can wield it against these seditionists by using the exact same techniques. Third-party organizations that rely on corporate dollars to give themselves oxygen, to buy the ad spots, to run these black ops, to bring in people like, well, you look at the columnists, you pick the name. Half of them are in the pockets of these people. They'll write a story full of filth and trash at the drop of a hat. And that's what we need to do. And people might say, oh, I'm going to clutch my pearls. I would never do such a thing. Well, if you won't get in the alleys with these fuckers and fight the way they do, then you're going to lose. You can tell yourself the Canadians won't vote in an oppressive regime, but I'm telling you, you will lose. I guarantee it. And there's no going back once you do. The structure's in place. We just need to build. We need to build. The blueprint is there. We need these people from across all walks of life in Canada, our lawyers. Look, you see a guy like Mark Borey on Twitter who takes up positions. We need guys like that for legal minds. You see people like Glenn McGregor, who got cut loose by CTV, another corporate bunch of greedy bastards who were trying to improve their balance sheets, making themselves look good so they can chip off pieces of the company and sell it for profit. Got guys like that. We need journalists who want to be journalists again, who've got the handcuffs off and can actually go out and tell the damn truth. I followed you, Glenn, during the Patrick Brown thing, and I know that you were sent in there to try to make chicken salad out of that chicken shit trumped up story. And you didn't agree, and you knew it was bullshit. But you acted in the best interest of your network because, hey, you wanted to get some work done. Well, you don't have to answer to anybody now, Glenn. Why don't you join up? Let's tell some truth. I'm sure there are a lot of other journalists out there and a lot of doctors who want to come forward and talk about how they've been treated by the Ford government, by people in the official opposition who don't give a damn about frontline healthcare workers, who spread misinformation that's killing people in Canada, worldwide. Do you think there are computer chips in people's brains and in vaccine shots? mRNA, technology. Do some research. There's mRNA already in everybody's body. It's called biology. Do a little research. Nobody's going to flick a switch at midnight and have you dance in the electric chicken because of the 5G. Listen to this bullshit.
I'd be down for that.
Well, did drug companies make money off this? Yes, they did. Was there fraud? You're damn sure there was. Was there a real threat? Yes. But were things done to ensure that certain people inside pharmaceutical companies made more money? You're damn sure they did.
Yep.
But that wasn't predominantly just the liberal people that they're talking about. Look into Doug Ford. Look into all of these provinces that spent millions on pandemic aid. Pandemic aid that went to people who owned oil companies previously, who miraculously overnight became PPP, personal protective equipment distributors. Right? We were robbed. We were robbed, guys.
Well,
and they're turning it
Ontario
around.
Alone is missing $5 billion. I think, is it $5 billion?
But they turn it around and blame it on a federal level. Okay, there was graft inside the Liberal Party on many levels. There was graft everywhere, and that's another thing we need to do. If you have a strong enough voice as a third party, you can hold your governments accountable. And if you happen to be a liberal and they're not living up to their promises, if you have a strong third-party infrastructure in place, you can ensure that they live up to their promises. And you can act as the most powerful watchdog because you control the purse strings. Well, power really is with the people.
For the longest time, the NDP was seen as the third party, but I had so much hope for Jagmeet, but he's every now and he'll do something good and then he'll parrot what Skippy says on a daily basis. I'm like,
he's a whore. He's not a new Democrat. I'm sorry, but he's a whore. And I guarantee you that when this is all said and done, he will be even wealthier than he is now. I'm not talking about a third party to run for office. I'm talking about a third party to advocate for the best solution going forward. Is a liberal government perfect? No, not in any way, shape, or form. Is it riddled with corruption on many levels? Yes, it is. Unfortunately, and if you're going to be honest with yourself, you need to understand that corruption needs to be rooted out. At the top level, it has been rudder. It has been a ship without a rudder, but it is the only way forward for a democracy at this point.
Mhm.
As hard as that may be for some people to believe, it really is. Can they be held to task? Absolutely. But you need, like any governmental system, a strong populace to hold that government to account. And right now, we are walking around thinking bright thoughts and that sunny ways will carry the day. It's not going to happen. If you want the liberal government to carry on, whether with Trudeau as the leader or somebody else, I don't care. But if you want true progressive government, they're your only choice right now. That's it. Whether you're enthusiastic about it or not, and that's up to anybody. I don't care which way you feel on the spectrum. What I'm saying is there's no other choice. Jagmeet is a whore who will go any which way the wind blows, and that's a fact.
Yeah. Well, it's like we've been saying on the show, right? It's like vote for a party, one that seems to at least respect the people they want to vote, and vote for. And if we're looking at all the parties on the level of just sheer competence and professionalism,
yeah, their goals right now are too big. Listen, if you're going to fail, though, try to fail big because it means you're dreaming big. It means that you want to build a better world for our kids. And I may disagree with a lot of the things that you do. However, if that's your goal as a government, sign me up. Because that's what it's all about, making the world better than what we found it.
Right.
And I've got a lot of work to do because I did a lot of fucking with things. Pardon my language. I'm not a political guy.
That's all right.
So I can't use weasel words.
This show's for
I can't use weasel words. Okay.
Don't worry about it. You can say whatever you want on this show. I drop a lot of F-bombs when I get angry because I don't know how else to express the anger that I experience and feel when I see a little shit-gibbon cockwomble asshole like Pierre Poilievre lie blatantly to the public every day and never get held to task. He never gets held to task. And it
everything about him is mind.
Yes, well, that's again.
Everything about him is
there's nothing authentic about that man.
Nothing. I mean, it's the guy takes off his glasses. He's walking around with his eyes crossed. He's got a jacket. Does he think he's Sonny Crockett's slow brother? I mean, I don't get it. It's look.
For the younger generation watching this, Sonny Crockett was a character on Miami Vice in the 1980s.
Yeah, it's a dated reference, but so is he. I mean, look at that guy.
But that's the thing. He's literally trying to emulate that, right? He's literally trying to emulate something from the 1980s. And I realized in the early 2000s they remade it and made a movie out of it with Jamie Foxx and the Irish fella there.
Colin.
Yes. I see his face. He grew that. He had the mullet. It was a good movie. It was enjoyable. Yeah. It was good. It was updated. It was in the spirit. Colin Farrell. Yes. It was in the spirit of the original series. But the thing is, it's like he's trying to remake himself like he's Sonny Crockett, and no, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care how many girdles or flak jackets you have to wear under your T-shirt to make yourself look like you're in shape. And I'm not picking on him for his body. I'm not. I'm not.
No, you're not picking from his body. You're picking.
Just be who you are.
No, that's the way you're picking on him because he needs to present something else than what he is. For he feels the need to do that. I mean, have you seen our prime ministers and through the rest of my lifetime?
Yeah.
I mean,
look. At least I have the respect for Doug Ford. As much as I disdain Doug Ford, he doesn't try to hide who he is physically.
No, he doesn't. It's look, right? It's so.
Neither does
I mean, it we're at a point where we still care. Well, and when you hear all these politicians speak, try to listen to Danielle Smith.
Ugh.
There's nothing authentic. Everything is rehearsed. It sounds like they're talking in a
Yep.
For a commercial. I mean, these are the least authentic people on the face of the earth. You want to get my vote? Get angry. Tell the truth. I mean, isn't that what it's supposed to be about? It doesn't matter if you win an election if you get in just because you're willing to say any bit of bullshit that comes to mind, then what have you won?
Nothing.
What have you won?
Right.
Just if you can't truly stand on a principle, then why bother? If it's just for power, then what kind of life is that?
Now, you've got this email, Fight for Canada Now. You've got this video that you made. We put it in the chat. I don't know if you want to show it, Mr. Grizzly? The YouTube video?
I put oh, the
Yeah.
video? Which one? Oh,
The
sorry,
one
I
for
put
which
it
I
in the
showed you
chat.
the link. Yeah, I don't know if you want to show it on the show
Oh,
itself.
that's the video?
Yeah.
The second one?
The second one's
Yeah,
the
okay.
I
video.
mispronounced the email address in it.
So let's see what it's.
Give me a sec here. I'm waiting for my computer to actually respond correctly. And
Okay.
I will, I'll cue this up. Okay, yeah, no, I got it. Yeah, just give me a sec here. David, you got the perfect lighting. Your hair is just so I'm jealous. I wish I had hair like that. I really do. When I was younger, I
Well, the
did.
pandemic never came
But now-
along. If the pandemic hadn't happened, I probably wouldn't have long hair. I just, I don't think I would have started.
Well, I had hair never as good as you, but I did have long hair at one point in time, and then now I'm 55 and I just don't have any more. But that's okay. I'm lucky enough to have a lady in my life who loves me for this, so I can go with it. Here we
Well,
are.
you know,
Check this
I
out.
look at it this way. I may be 52, but my hair is younger.
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. Here we are.
Right.
We are in a dire situation. If we do not organize and stand now, cohesively, fascism in the form of the CPC will form the next government. And it'll be long before 2025. They are undermining our institutions, and they are doing so based on big budgets gathered from the 1% who seek to turn us into a theocratic dictatorship ruled over by corporations. We saw a perfect example and are still seeing it in Alberta. Take Back Alberta is nothing more than an offshoot of the IDU and Stephen Harper's dream of regime change worldwide. Iron control. These things are coming fast. Progressive Canadians have the best of Canada. We have doctors and lawyers, teachers, professors, educators, healthcare workers, the backbone of our society, the silent majority who have no idea how to fight back. Sad to say, for many decades, I made my living in the service of these animals. We need to give them a taste of their own medicine. If we organize, we will win. We must play for keeps. I'll get the ball rolling. Defend Canada now at protonmail.com. Email me. Let's get started. We have the finest in Canada at our disposal. Let's utilize these people. And let's stamp these seditionists out. Now. Thank you.
Wow. That was heavy duty. And the best part is every single word of it is absolutely true. Every single word is absolutely true.
So
we need to collectively get together to make this country. Look, I'm gonna reiterate the words of Justin's father from, was it 1980, late 1980, something like that. Canada's a dream. Don't let the dream die.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look at America, what's happening right now. What kind of dream is that? You know why they call it the American dream right now? Because you'd have to be asleep to believe it. Things are slipping.
The late George Carlin. The late George
Things
Carlin
are
said it
sleeping.
perfectly.
They're slipping. They're slipping. And look, things are going to get very bleak if we don't start throwing punches back. We've got the best people in this country. I mean, look, I'll get the ball rolling. A guy like Richard Mitchell, you know, very respected, a professor. Somebody like Vicky Campbell, very passionate. You guys, and I'm sorry, but there are just so many people on Twitter, so many people on other social media, Jordan Roberts, people of this nature. There are so many qualified people that if you ever got them together in a room, we'd have no worries, man. We would take back our streets from people who wish to defile them by protesting against freedoms that they claim to have lost that never existed. And that clearly you still have since you're here protesting. Tell me another country you can routinely drive around in small town, whichever place you might be, with a pickup truck with your leader's name and image splashed on the back, intimating that you want to have sex with him. I won't use the words. And, you know, basically hanging him in effigy. Tell me where that's going to be tolerated. I'll wait.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, there's like what?
With the whole India thing, we have a case of a Canadian citizen shot on Canadian soil because he spoke about separatism.
And he came to Canada as a safe haven and refuge, as we're known as international. And I'll give it to this current government, a message they've never wavered from is that they are here as a brother to any man, woman, or child from anywhere. If they seek political asylum, Canada is where you come. That's why our passport is one of the most valuable on the face of this planet. It's why people can travel safely through countries with nothing more than a Canadian pin on their lapel or their backpack. That is precious. And once you lose that, you don't get it back.
We cannot lose that.
We cannot lose that. Absolutely.
We cannot lose that. My grandfather who fought at Vimy Ridge. Vimy.
He paid for it with his blood.
I knew him. He lived to be 99. Most of his friends died in that battle. He would he would storm. Let me put it to you this way. He was, for the most part, he was a progressive conservative most of his life.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with being a progressive conservative. In fact, we need a little conservative fiscal responsibility right now, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he was a farmer. If he were alive today, he would be ranting louder than me. I get my fire from him. He would be ranting louder than me, and he probably, all 5'4" of him, would have punched Pierre Pulver in the face by now. And I'm not joking when I say that, because he didn't give a shit. He didn't care. He's like, you are fucking with the country that I watched my friends die in ditches for. I watched my boyhood friends. We were 15, 16, 17 years old, and we signed up. He was 18 years old when he went to war.
A child.
He lived to be 99, but he was a child. And you got to remember, when he went to war, 1914, 1915, he lived in a village where they had no electricity. Nobody had a radio. They would get telegrams or stuff from the post. They didn't have indoor plumbing. Like, the world that he lived in was not the one we live in. There was no information available to him. So when the recruiting office came by and said, sign up for this adventure, he went, yes, an adventure. I'm going to go to England, where my ancestors are from. Not knowing what he was getting himself into. But he came home, and he was never the same. When he went to war, by the way, David, his hair was very similar to yours. And when he came home 4 years later, that's exactly what he looked like. From the stress, the malnutrition, the horror that he witnessed, he lost all his hair. And I have photos of him the day he went to war, when he was 18 or 19, I think, and the day he was getting on the ship to come home. And he looks about 40 years apart, and it's only 4 years of his life.
Yep.
So he would be punching out politicians today.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm getting at.
All of those men would. They would have. My grandfather, Ronald Geary, God rest his soul, even though I'm not a big believer in religion, but he served for the Royal Canadian Air Force, and I believe he spent a lot of time. He was a master sergeant, and he came back. He was blonde haired. He came back with black hair from the crap that they were spraying out there. All the crap and the stuff and the stress. His hair was as dark as coal when he came back. And, he lived, he died of Alzheimer's, but again, he was another strong. I certainly wouldn't have wanted to tangle with him. I don't care. He was in his 80s, but when he passed, but at the end of the day, those men and women understood fascism. They knew it. They knew it on sight because they lived with it.
Yes.
They read it in the news every day. And they wouldn't stand for this because they can smell a fascist from a mile away.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Beaver.
So Fight for Canada Now at protonmail.com. Who do you want writing to you for what purpose? And when you say I'll get the ball rolling, what does that mean?
I need all professionals, professional people with professional skills. I need people who are good in finance. I need people who are good organizers and delegators. We need people from the legal profession. We need people from marketing backgrounds and the news backgrounds, reporters. We need to get together, form some kind of a committee, and start utilizing volunteer efforts. We need to raise funds, and we need to raise those funds by holding corporate interests accountable. If we have a big enough power base and we have a large enough impact through social media, through independent media, through protest, through general strikes, if we can wield that block of power, we can convince the corporate interests which own the MSN, the mainstream networks, and the papers and the interest. We can convince them it's in their continued survival, their best interest, to get the real stories out. Because without those stories getting out to mom and dad, the grandparents, the people who vote, the low information voter, people who maybe have been duped, without getting that real message out, we are looking at defeat. It's only going to get worse from here. We need real professional people. Once a structure, a third-party entity such as Take Back Alberta, the exact same structure is put together, then I can do what I do best, and that's hiring the professionals to make life a living hell for the other side. Basically what's going on with the Conservative Party against progressives right now, except on steroids. Because I know where every single corpse in that stinking place is buried, and I think we should drag them all out for some sunlight.
I have no objection to that. I have to say that what you're saying, I'm in lockstep with, in the sense that that's part of the reason why I started this. Completely different means and completely different path to get here, but it was the same thing. It was, okay, well, if all of this is happening, what if I managed, through either writing or podcasting or whatnot, get a audience of 15, 20, 30,000 people over a portion of time? And what if all at once, because we had a letter writing campaign, what if all at once, like this, we adopted an MP or an MPP and door knocked with them? What if we phone banked? What if we and we don't have a tradition of that in Canada. In the States, they do. They have all those organizations. They have Acorn, all those kind of stuff. But that's like, is there an Acorn in Canada? I don't know. Is there a run for something in Canada? There is in the United States. Is there a something, whatever, I can't remember the name, but somebody's lists, and it's a woman's name, and Emily's lists, I think it is, that actually like funds, looks for women, and funds them, gives them the startup funds to start running a campaign. They have, do we have a group of people that are going to run for school boards, decent people that are going to run for school boards, that are going to run for city hall to stop what this is going on?
You need to recruit those people.
Yeah.
And to recruit them, you need to have the infrastructure in place. And we can do this. We're doing it every day independently, all across social media. We just need to build the apparatus that joins us all together.
Yes. Because all the players are there. It's the same thing, right? It's the IDU just brought a whole bunch of people together, and now they've been at it for a while. Because I mean, the first time I heard of the IDU, I think Kohl was the Chancellor of Germany.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was the first time
And
I
they're
heard
way
of it.
ahead.
And then I'm going like, what's this thing that I've never heard of? And why are these people associated? And why do I never hear about it in the press? And I still never hear it about in the press all these years later.
Because they own the press.
They own the press, exactly, and they're way ahead of us. But don't lose heart.
No.
Because even though they're way ahead of us,
More of us,
we possess more talent to move our agenda forward. And I'll tell you why. Because people who aren't afraid of other people's opinions or ways of life, who truly are of the belief, live and let live. That's what makes a society a rich and rewarding place to be in. Those people, because they have an open mind, because their diversity is their strength, usually win in the end if they're organized, because they are smarter. They really are. Because to be closed-minded is to be ignorant.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a question of IQ. It's a question of willingness to open one's mind and opens one's eyes and see people for what they are. Human beings, different than us. But without being different, I mean, what's going to be interesting? It's going to be pretty boring if we're all the same.
Well, when you look at how they've tried, so that they control the message by controlling the media. I mean, like National Post, which is part of the Chatham Asset Management hedge fund, 66.6% owned by a U.S. Corporation that is heavily aligned with the GOP. For those of you who do not know, GOP stands for Grand Old Party, which is the Republican Party. And the Republican Party is no longer the Republican Party. It is the Trump Party, because they're as corrupt as the day is long.
Absolutely.
Sinclair Media.
Hedge funds.
Oh, yeah. Sinclair Media is the same thing. And here's how it changed in Canada. So the reason Chatham Asset Management owns 66.6% of Canadian media and newspapers is because Stephen Harper changed the rules on Canadian ownership. At one point, Canadian ownership had to be like, I'm going to say it was like 85 or 90%. I don't remember the exact number. If somebody can look it up,
It's quite high.
It was incredibly high. It's like foreign ownership was incredibly low. And it was done that way in purpose because foreign owners have different interests. They can if you control the media, you control the people. We saw that. That's how Hitler rose to power. That's how Germany was taken over by a bunch of power-hungry, hateful, murderous people.
And plus, we're a small country, and with the American monolith, we had to create some type of protection for us to actually have a cultural or news industry, or else we just would have gotten their news from the get-go.
Well, and you remember that before Pierre Junot came in and created Canadian content rules, Canadian musical artists were non-existent in Canada. We didn't know who there's like Neil Young, Gordon Lightfoot, and who else? Anne Marie, but she came along later, and
Joni Mitchell.
Thank you, Joni. I was blanking on Joni. I'm like Saskatchewan lady, Joni Mitchell. That was it, right? And then Pierre Junot came along, created CanCon rules for radio stations in Canada. We have to play Canadian artists, and they said, we don't like this. I'm like, yeah, but this is how we build it. And now Canadian artists have ruled Billboard for the last 15 years. The top 10.
We're a great country. What can we say?
Well, Ronnie Hawkins, who moved up here from the Bayou, from Louisiana, said, pound for pound, Canadians have more talent than all of the United States and the rest of the world combined. And I always kind of went, really? Now, he was an artist. He recorded, he played. What I'm getting at is we had rules in place to keep our country protected from outside influences that would want to diminish who we were.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
We had those rules changed by a government that had not our interest at hearts. We had those rules diminished by Stephen Harper and the IDU. They didn't want us to be who we are. They wanted to be able to control us. They wanted to be able to take away our autonomy. They wanted to be able to effectively sell us off to somebody who had desire to do damage to us. And we've witnessed it.
But
it's happened in real time.
But we haven't fixed it.
No, that's the problem.
Nope.
That's when we had our interview with Mark Gerritsen. It's like, will we bring in some fairness doctrine laws? Will we change foreign ownership laws? Will we fund civics education? Will we impose a minimum truth in advertising law for political parties, or at least try to make it I keep on saying we need a constitutional amendment that it should be against the law for an elected official to lie to the people about what the Constitution actually allows or forbids.
Completely agree.
That would be a nice start. Like this, when you got Stephen Harper telling, yes, just one man, me, I can like change the Senate and make it triple elected. Just follow me. And it's like, you can't do that. A first-year constitutional law student will tell you that you can't do that. But hey, you're going to fundraise and grift and fleece grandma and grandpa for 10 years. And then you're going to take it all the way to the Supreme Court at our cost, not at your cost, not at the IDU cost, not at party cost, but at our cost. And then you're going to lose. And after 10 years, go, oh, well, sorry. It's just okay. What's the next grift now? Oh yeah, carbon tax. And now what's the next one? Now it's going to be the electricity stuff. You can't do that. Well, of course you can. Of course, yeah. It's just, and it's the same playbook every time. It's like they create this constitutional right. I'm still hearing the weird sound. Yeah.
You not getting me, guys?
No, don't. You're there.
Yeah.
You're there.
We're getting some feedback from your channel though. For some reason, I don't know what it is. So I'll just periodically mute you. I'll just pay attention. So when you start to speak, I'll unmute you. That's all. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of feedback through it. I don't know what's going on. The gremlins are in the system. It's late at night. I don't know.
So happen a lot with me.
So if people write you at that email address and say, yes, I'm down, I'm interested, what have you got? First of all, how many people do you need to start with? And I'm guessing that you have a bit of a plan. What are some of the steps?
We have to register. That's the first thing. We need to come up with an official name.
Okay.
We need to register. We need to have legal help to set this thing up so that we are in compliance.
Mm-hmm.
And then we need to set about hiring people, if we can't get the volunteers, that we're going to need to run this as a 24/7 entity leading up to the election, because that's what's needed. Without that, it will not work. This cannot be a hobby. It's going to need to be a full-time operation staffed with the best people we can find, whether they're paid or unpaid. That structure needs to be in place. I'm certainly not the person to run the infrastructure of this. We can set it up. I'm going to be more on the offensive side of the ball, so to speak. That would be fun. Mm-hmm. But to make this a success, we need the best people. We need talented lawyers. We need talented media people. We need people who are good with social media and graphics and people who have experience with media buys. These are all needed.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, we won't overcome the lies. I'll give you a perfect lie. People blame the office of the prime minister for the rising food costs. These are think about this. Your major grocers are owned by hardcore conservative oligarchs who are profiteering. You're asking a prime minister to bring in legislation to bring price controls in provinces where that purview belongs strictly to the provinces. I mean, they've pulled a great magic trick here.
Convincing people of the bullshit that they sell every day is the hard part, right? It's like when I look at it, I'm like, wait a second. Let me see if I just, how is the prime minister responsible for something that is in the private sector? And if there was any sort of purview of government types at all, it would fall under the Somebody explain this to me like I'm two, because none of this makes any goddamn sense.
But you know where it got control? You know where these people got the hook set into the low information voter, the people who don't really give much of a damn about facts? You know where they set the hook? It's because the leader of the opposition marched with certain lunatics, supported extremists, and fed in to theories which were insane. And now he's walking them back or not mentioning them. But this is the same man who turned on Diagolon. He courted their interest. And listen, wherever you fall in the political spectrum, on a human level, these people, he duped them. He used them like toilet paper and threw them aside when they were no longer germane to what he needed to get done. This is the type of sociopath that is running to be your elected leader. Wake up.
Well,
it's a con.
And the thing that irks me to no end is his signage. Pierre Poliver for prime minister. I'm running for prime minister. That's not a fucking thing. You do not run for prime minister in this country. You don't. You don't elect a prime. We elect a parliament. We have 338 elections. But he's relying upon people's ignorance of how the system works, because we've not taught nearly enough civics in school for the last 40 years. And here we are today with this lunatic. And I say that as somebody who has a lot of mental health issues, okay? I get depression, anxiety, ADHD. I have issues. But I can recognize somebody who's crazy when I see crazy. And that son of a bitch is crazy. And if you're offended by my verbiage, write me an email, tell me why, explain to me why I'm wrong, and I will apologize to you, but not to him. Never to him.
No, nor should you. Nor should you. And that's the real conundrum here. We have an arsonist running for prime minister. That's what we have. He is an arsonist. He is merrily setting the public trust on fire. He is turning the populace against each other, and he is doing this in a pursuit to become the next prime minister. You know, if you're going to lead, you got to have somewhere to go. And he's leaving us with nowhere to go. Nowhere. There'll be no consensus in this country. There will be open warfare in the streets because people will not tolerate being told what they can do with their own bodies in terms of autonomy. And people can say, well, we were vaccinated against our will. Nobody was vaccinated against their will. Nobody. Now, was it pushed down people's throats? Absolutely. Am I a fan of how it was rolled out? No. It was mishandled from the start. There was self-interest on all sides. However, was it a necessary step? Yes, because if we don't prepare for the disaster that's coming, a lot of people are going to die. And people need to understand that the actual truth is, the drug companies knew that this was a rush job. It was pushed through because we were in extraordinary times. And human beings are fallible and they make mistakes. Drugs are refined and get better through trials. Trials happen because we have the luxury of time. If you're in a worldwide deadly pandemic, you don't have luxury. You don't have time. What you have is a choice. Something that may help the vast majority of people walking the streets, but will have serious health repercussions on people. Not all people, and not even a very large cross-section of the population, but regrettably and horribly, people have been hurt. And they've been hurt by vaccines in the past. Vaccines for polio, vaccines for you name any rubella, shingles, you name it. But we do these things so we can, over time, work out a way to protect the most number of people from debilitating injury, maiming, or death. That's why we do these things, to feed into conspiracies that convince people not to take proper care of themselves medically is suicide. It's setting us back 100 years.
Yep. And nobody probably, at least in Canada, knows this better than the gay community, because we had a pandemic in the 80s and we had drugs where people said, hey, take this, it might work. Or the first drugs, AZT. Well, we tried these on people that had cancer, but it was too toxic for them, but maybe it'll work for you. And it worked somewhat for some people, but then, and then we had other drugs, and then you had lipodystrophy, and you had AIDS face, and then you had all these things that happened, all these side effects. You had liver dysfunction, constant diarrhea, vomiting like you had morning sickness, and then they got better and better and better and better, and now they're quite pretty well tolerated for the most part, and you basically now have a life you've disappeared in sound, David.
Can you hear me now? They got better, and here's the reason they got better: because progressive governments, because research into AIDS and HIV really started to take off when Bill Clinton came to office. Ronald Reagan and the Republicans in the 1980s treated AIDS like a dirty word.
Yes.
They didn't mention it in public.
Yes.
They didn't support funding and outside the box thinking that would have saved tens of millions of American lives.
Mm-hmm.
They allowed those people to die. How many lights, how many geniuses, how many cures for cancer, how many cures for Lou Gehrig's disease or Parkinson's disease, how many cures died with the people who perished as promising human beings who could have made a difference in this world?
Mm-hmm.
It was a dirty word. Progressive governments brought forward research and vaccines and other medications which prolonged life now to the point where people with HIV can live literally as long as they were going to live without HIV.
I think that
because it doesn't develop into AIDS.
Yeah, I think the difference in life expectancy is now down to 5 years.
Absolutely.
That you would expect. And you had all this going on, and none of, like you said, we had Clinton, but none of this happened until a group of progressive-minded people, the gay community, decided that they were not going to tolerate their own government just allowing their family members to die. And all these gay people had allies, their friends, their family, and whatnot, because all these gay people who were hidden, who were all of a sudden outed by HIV and AIDS because they couldn't hide it. That's the one thing that we gay people have that black people don't have. For example, black people can't hide their black. They can't blend in unless they're really, really pale and they pass. But gay, you can hide that. Yes.
Yeah.
No. Why do people hide anything? Why should they? You know what? Yes. That's the thing. It's about dehumanization.
What I'm saying is you can hide that. So everybody had that uncle or had that someone like this, but nobody talked about it. He was just his friend or whatnot until HIV happened. And we were all forced out of the closet. The people who were HIV positive, clearly they got forced out of the closet, especially if they had Kaposi's sarcoma or something. You could see it right in their face. And then everybody else said, you know what? Visibility at all costs. And a whole bunch of people came out of the closet. And then there were die-ins on the street. And there were people going to pharmaceutical conferences and embarrassing the pharmaceutical companies, so much so that it would make the news, and then became a public relations disaster for them, and then they had to change. This is the stuff that David is talking about. There's a playbook. It's gay people in Ottawa getting tired of being the gay bashing capital of Canada and say, you know what, we're starting a police liaison unit. Whether you like it or not, police, you're going to meet with us. And we're not going to take no until next you're going to meet with us. And that was the basis of hate crimes legislation and protection in the charter down the road. And us being able to marry. And all it takes is a group of very committed, progressive-minded people who will not take no for an answer, who don't care what other people say about them, because we already hear what they say about that was the thing with the gays. They didn't care about what people said about them because we were already devils and pedos and looking to recruit and all. They couldn't say anything worse about us, and that this was God's punishment on us for being us. So it's like,
seem to be on the God-fearing side of the offense.
Yes. But how many fucks did we have to give at that point as a community? You can't say anything worse about us than you can. You say that we're pedophiles who are trying to recruit your children, and we all got this disease that's going to kill you instantly as soon as you touch us because we deserve it because we're gay. Like this. No more fucks left to give. So he took to the streets.
Yeah.
And things changed. The playbook is there. The playbook is there. It wasn't that long ago.
That's right.
And the United States, under a conservative government, ironically, created PEPFAR, which is like the best in all of history health aid program in the world. So many people now, as a result of PEPFAR, in countries all over the world, in Africa and Southeast Asia and South America, are living longer lives and have access to treatment. And PEPFAR is not just HIV, it's HIV and tuberculosis and malaria. And it survived.
That's right.
It even survived Trump because it's that good.
Yeah.
There are ways. The model exists. It's not hopeless. We've seen it in our lifetime.
We're gonna have to wrap up here in a minute. Sorry, I got to put you on mute there, Dave, for a couple of seconds because we're getting some feedback through you. Give me 2 seconds, and I'll bring you back in. Okay, David, it's all up to you. Say what you got to say.
I just look. We can do this. We can do this. We need to band together, but we can do it. And we need to start beating the drums. We need to organize. We need to do so now. The email address that I provided, if you've got time, talent, or treasure, if you want to donate to the cause with your time, your expertise, if you want to donate finances so we can hire people, if you want to come in, if you want to die, anything you can do. Anything you can do at this point.
And everybody can do something.
Something.
Right? If you can draw, you're needed. If you've got pleasant phone manner, you are needed. If you know how to organize stuff like this, you're needed. If you know how to cook for big groups of people, like on 50 people at a time, trust me, you're needed. Like this, everybody has something that they can contribute. Even if you're sitting at home, you're going, oh, little old me, what can I do? Trust me, there's something you can do.
Everybody can contribute. You remember in 2001, 9/11, Gander, Newfoundland, small town, helped thousands of people. People contributed in the smallest of ways. And the thing you need to remember is a tiny contribution that you make today could save a life tomorrow. Here's the thing. I'm happy to be the voice of the party that saves this nation. Do you need narration? I can help you with that. That's about all I got because I don't have any money.
Well, I'm prepared to bring some cuteness and some entertainment value. Trust me, everybody has something. Everybody's, if all you can do is stuff an envelope, trust me, you're needed. Trust me. All right. Kids, that's the end of the Eager Beaver After Dark or After Bark show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. We hope that you love listening to us because we loved making this for you and because sharing is caring and you have the mouths that we want the good word coming out of. So use your voice to share the good word. See how that works? Not only about us, but about this movement, right? Get people, write yourself to this email address. What's the email address again, Mr. Wallace?
Just a second. I mispronounced it on the video, but it was on the tweet. It's It was Defend Canada Now, I believe it was, at protonmail.com.
Fight for Canada
Fight
Now
for
at
Canada Now.
protonmail.com.
There you go.
There we go.
See, there we go. We need a catchy slogan, too.
There we go.
We need people.
Fight for Canada Now at protonmail.com. Please write if you know people that you think would be really into this. If you've got some keener activist friend, pass the email over. You know, right? Every little bit helps. Every jot and tittle adds to the pot. So
here's where I'll come in. Fight for Canada. Wait. Late. Hang on. I'm going to change it up. I'm going to do the studio mic.
Ooh.
Oh, here we go. Fight for Canada Now.
Ooh la la. Gee. All right.
Studio mic has a little bit more punch.
Yes. So because democracy is something that you do, act on this. Of course, if you are in Manitoba, early voting. If you're in the Jean Talon area for the Quebec by-election, early voting there. They're both open. The election is on October 2nd in Jean Talon and October 3rd in Manitoba. Especially in Manitoba, it's an opportunity to ditch a PC government. So let's give them the boot. Let's not make the same mistake we made in Alberta. Let's finish the job. All right.
Again, they're progressive conservative in name only. They're not progressives. They're not.
And
they're not.
And you know that by the way that they're finishing the campaign. Those 2 ads that they just took and go and try bringing on the trans kid thing again and like saying, hey, like this, we're actually going to make a point of saying we're not going to search that landfill. That's the water. Listen, that's grass. They're saving the furniture at this moment. All right. You got Heather Stephenson basically saying, hey, people, if you hate Indigenous people, I'm your gal.
In response,
that's the closing argument.
In response to Diana Davis's comment here, we have women on the podcast from time to time. We will have more. We had a wonderful show. Just it debuted on Monday morning, where we had Miss A 17-year-old female high school student, who told us about how life is like for a 17-year-old young lady in 2023. By all means, Diana, I recommend you check out that show. It was, revolutionary. It was an eye-opening experience for myself. Mr. Beaver felt, I'm sure, the same way, because this 17-year-old lady had stuff to say that was just remarkable.
And an ability to say it rather concisely.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah. The kids are all right. The kids are all right. Because democracy is something that you do, like we said, also, not only vote, but make sure you make some donations to the Red Cross to help our brothers and sisters who are afflicted by the wildfires and all the good stuff. If you would like to subscribe to us so that you don't miss an episode as soon as it's fresh off the bandwidth, I am really excited all of a sudden. Please go to our podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. The pod page, sponsored by the Ray Girl. Thank you very much. We really, really appreciate it. And since you're into subscribing and you like to smash, well, we've got a trio of buttons for you to press, because we do like pressing buttons here at the Beaver Lodge. The buttons are called like, subscribe, and share. Again, sharing is caring. So
3 favorite words after free beer
today. So yes, like, subscribe, and share, please. And if you really enjoy the content that we produce and you would like to encourage us to do more, well, that little squiggly that's right by Mr. Grizzly's head right there will bring you to our coffee page. That's coffee, if you're listening, ko-fi.com/Eager Beaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And that's where you can make your contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where Caesar and Guinness and hot chocolate, because you are what you drink, are there to help us produce this show. They're our staff. They keep disappearing on us, but for some reason, you keep on making sure that we get them to come back. So make your contribution and help keep our vocal cords.
I'm staff. I'm staff.
Right. We like to, yes, your staff. We like to speak moistly to you, so please contribute. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your eager beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourselves. Before we get to you, Mr. Grizzly, our guest, Mr. Wallace, do you have some words of wisdom for our kids before we go?
I think what we had to say, we said tonight. The only thing I do have to say is we better get moving. And I wish you all a good night and a tally ho. My phone's just about to die.
All right. Thank you very much for reaching us, and we're so happy to have you on the official show for the first time. So many happy returns, we hope.
Thank you very much, David. We
Right.
really do appreciate your coming out. And I'm so jealous of your hair. I mean, that's a genuine, heartfelt statement. Okay, I wish, but we really do appreciate you coming in to talk with us this evening, last minute, and your message is good, and we're on board with it. So yeah, let's bring back, not take back, bring back Canada.
Let's
Bring
disturb
back
some
Canada.
shit. Let
There's nothing
us
to
be the
take
one.
back.
Let us be the ones who bring it home. We'll bring it home. All right. Thank you so much, sir. All right. Kids and cubs. Wow, Mr. Grizzly. Interesting evening.
Yeah, well, it's another one of those things where it's like every time I see a show that David's on, and sometimes we've been on a couple with him. His insight, his thoughtful statements, because they are thoughtful, because he loves this country, and he's like, you know what, I helped create the situation we're in right now, and I can't stand by anymore. Everybody has their moment where they wake up and go, oh shit, this is wrong. I don't know when his occurred. And it, as you've said time and time again, we don't care that you got here late. We're just happy that you're here. You're here now, and that's what matters. And he genuinely loves this country and sincerely wants to keep it the dream that it was when Pierre Trudeau said, Canada's dream, let's keep that dream alive. He wants that dream back because he has children. I have nieces, nephews. You are no different than me in that regard, sir.
Yep.
And we
Love 'em to
want,
bits.
yeah, we want to have the dream that you and I grew up with. And it got really, really far, and then it's kind of taken a few back steps, and then it's come back a bit. But if we're not careful, if we are not vigilant, we will lose it.
We will.
And there are people in positions of power right now, and they started at the grassroots by getting into school boards and municipal politics, and then into provincial, and then now they're in federal, and they're trying to create Gilead. And if you don't know what that is, you can watch it. If you're not a reader, you should read the book, The Handmaid's Tale. If you're not a reader, you can watch the television program, The Handmaid's Tale. Season 1 is almost word for word from the book. Season 2 and 3 are variations thereof. But what I'm getting at is there are people in positions of power in this country right now who want to rob you of the rights that our ancestors fought for. And let's not get into the whole... because September 30th is right.
Yes. Yeah.
Day
National
of Truth
and Reconciliation Day.
Yeah. So again, I say our ancestors. I say ancestors who look like me and maybe not like me, but complicated. We have a lot of work to do in a lot of areas, but we have a group of people right now who want to erase all of that. They want to destroy all of that. They want to take away all the progress that's been made. And we cannot let that happen. We cannot let that happen, because if we do, the day of truth and reconciliation will just disappear and it will mean nothing. And we cannot, guys who look like me cannot allow that to happen.
I agree with you. All right, Mr. Grizzly, roll them credits, please.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver media podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and The Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
All right, kiddies, it's going to be a short night for yours truly, so sleep well.
We'll see you at 7 a.m.
Oh, God. It's going to come so fast.
This is how much we love the Kitchen Cubs then. We'll be back at 7 in the morning.
It's love and it's real. It's love and it's real.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? It's not just that. It's because we know how much you love this country too.
That is absolutely true. Respect.
See you in a few hours.